with his quarterback. While Dallas can't feasibly move on from Zeke this season, they could save nearly $6 million in cap space in 2022 if they cut the star running back then. So, Shannon, how much pressure does Dak's deal actually put on Zeke here?
Well, there's no pressure on because Dak got his deal skipped. There's pressure on Zeke because Zeke is the highest paid running back, and he hasn't lived up to the money that Jerry paid him. He was unbelievable. 2 of the first 3 years, he led the league in rushing. He led the league in rush yards per game, Skip, even though he missed a number of games and wasn't able to qualify. But he hasn't been that back since to justify that. So unless he performs, it's hard to justify paying a guy $14 million when he's giving you 4 yards a carry and 65 yards a game, Skip. It's just hard to justify that. So he's going to have a bounce-back season. Now, it won't be a mistake on his part. He would have been foolish not to accept this deal. But it would look like a mistake on Jerry's part that you gave a guy this kind of contract and he hasn't been the top 2 or top 3 league in rushing. So he's going to have to perform in order to justify Jerry giving him this money. Or I don't see a scenario if he has another season like he had last year, Skip. I don't see how they move forward with a guy paying $14 million giving you that kind of production.
So, because I am in the afterglow of the Dak deal and I'm feeling ridiculously positive right now, I agree with you. Zeke will bounce back this year. We will have a Zeke revival, a resurgence. Because Dak is back, Zeke will come back mentally, psychologically, and ultimately physically, because that's his guy, as you know. It's almost like that's his big brother in a sense.
But you told me yesterday that you wanted Pollard to get more carries, so how can Zeke be more productive if he's going to get less carries?
Because he will have fewer carries and more impact with those carries.
Oh, okay.
Because if I'm wrong about this, this very well could be the worst deal Jerry Jones has ever made, was the one with Zeke. And remember, a big reason that he made that deal to make him the highest paid running back in football was he got to see in 2017 what happened without Zeke for 6 games, what happened to Dak Prescott. Not much.
No, it wasn't.
It was awful to watch. It was hard on my eyes. The game at Atlanta, the Thanksgiving game against San Diego. It was an embarrassment. Dak had a long, hard struggle without Zeke.
Yes.
So I think some people were starting to make the case maybe Zeke is a little more valuable than the 4th rounder Dak is. Okay, and I didn't have any problem. I did not second guess it, even though I wanted Bosa with that 4th overall going into 2016. They took Ezekiel Elliott. Well, he didn't just play great college football. He dominated college football the way I'd never seen any back dominate. Remember the games? Wisconsin, the Big Ten championship game, then Bama, then Oregon. It's like 250, 250. It's They could not tackle him, right? So I thought, okay, we had Darren McFadden, he was a pretty
he rushed for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he had gone for 1,000 the year before, and I thought we're okay there. Not great, but okay. And by the way, that was the end of Darren McFadden's career. When they took Zeke, it was lights out for Darren. Who, you want to talk about a great college back?
He was.
God, I used to watch him and say, Lord have mercy.
And that was the thing, Skip, is that, but Jerry envisioned, he saw with this, when you have a great offensive line, and he had those in the mid-90s with Emmett, 1,000 yards was unacceptable. Emmett was gaining 16, 17, 1,800. And then he saw with Murray. DeMarco Murray gained 1,800.
He did.
He's like, well, we got a line like this here. We need more than 1,000. Let's go get us a back. Zeke got 1,600.
So they strengthened the strength that was their offensive line and their offense. And here, just for the viewers out there to let this sink in, these are Zeke's yards per game over his 5 years. They went 109. 109 yards as a rookie. That led all of football. Then it dropped to 98 in 2017, but that still led the NFL. Dropped to 96 the next year. Not bad. Still led the NFL.
That's still Hall of Fame pace.
And here we go. Then it dropped in 2019 to 85 yards a game, and last year to 65 yards a game.
That's just Joe Smo. That's average. That's average skill.
Well, Pro Football Focus ranked Zeke at the end of last year the 15th best running back. The 15th best running back? I'm sorry, they graded him. I got that wrong. That was 15th. The 65 yards a game was 15th, but Pro Football Focus actually graded him the 46th best running back.
Yeah, that's not
so
bad.
he's way down the line. He's over and out. And even his catches over the time of the last 3 years, he caught 38 yards of balls a game in, that would be 2018, then it went to 26, down to 23. So even that's going south.
Right.
So everything is suggesting that he's not even remotely worth the most dollars anybody makes at the running back position.
Those first 3 years are Hall of Fame numbers running the football.
They are. I agree. Okay.
Even that third year, Skip, that 109 is off the chart. Nobody has ever, I mean, maybe Jim Brown is the only one that had 100, the average 100 yards a game rushing. So 109 would have been off the chart. But even those first 3 years, that's Hall of Fame pace.
Hall of Fame. Agreed. So this year, the cap hit for Ezekiel Elliott is $13.7 million. Next year, it goes to 16.5. Well, I'm saying, Zeke, you're on the hot seat.
Yeah, he's going to need 14. He's going to need 1,400 yards to justify coming back at that cap.
Yeah, because if you have another 80, well, down to 65 yards a game, I'm pretty sure he'll get cut after this year because you'd almost have to.
That's barely 1,000 yards.
Survive it.
That's barely 1,000 yards. And 64 yards a game will give you 1,000 yards. So he's like 1,010 yards.
Right.
For $16 million cap hit coming back the following year? Hell no.
And I have never said that Tony Pollard was an every down back.
No.
He can actually catch it better than he's been given a chance to catch it.
Right.
You can line him up at the wide.
Yeah, he's explosive. He's at his best, Skip, when you minimize his carries to maintain that explosiveness. But when you start giving him the ball and says, okay, we're going to try to run you like Zeke, he lose some of that explosiveness. That's why I think Zeke is valuable. I just don't know if Zeke's going to be able to put up the numbers that you want to see, considering that you want Pollard to get more opportunities.
Got it. So Zeke came back from Cabo, where he was, quote unquote, holding out, missing camp, right?
Man, you ain't got
and ever since, it looks like he's running to me in Cabo San.
I heard the wings good over there in Cabo.
Well, they must be, because he came back with not one chin, he had two chins. Oh. And I'm not sure he ever recovered.
But he looked good, Skip. He looked good. You said he looked good coming into this season.
Into this past season?
Yes.
He looked a little better. He lost a little bit of the little pot that he had that he was carrying around. Not the Salvation Army pot. I'm talking about the little pot, right? And yet, I don't know. It just felt like a guy who finally got paid and just said, I'm good.
Yeah, that's the one position, Skip. It's hard for a guy to recapture it once it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen wide receivers bounce back. We've seen quarterbacks bounce back. We've seen other positions. It's just hard. When you've had that kind of wear and tear, the kind of mileage that Zeke has put on his body, it's hard to bounce back, to go from all of a sudden you had 1,000, you've been this great back, and all of a sudden you go to 1,000, and then you bounce back up to 1,400. It doesn't normally happen like that for running backs.
No, and all too often I have seen him have a burst of a run. He's lost a lot of his burst, but he'll have a sudden run where he gets loose for 32 yards, and he's waving to the sideline, take me out. Well, our man Eric Dickerson, you give him 32, he's going to want more. Feed the beast.
Yeah, because you feel I got him right where I want him now. Well, Zeke might need to get a hyperbaric chamber. Maybe. And breathe high altitude. Do some high altitude training, Skip. Maybe that'll help.
Maybe you should just do some training, period. And maybe because Dak is back in the saddle, that he will get Zeke back in gear.
Maybe he has maybe he has asthma.
Maybe he's got asthma, but asthma he will bounce back from.
Okay.
Yep.
I can't help but not think of his "Feed Me" tattoo every time we talk about him. Like, it just, it's an interesting place for it. Everyone's looking there. Okay, we'll see how he progresses ahead of the season. Now, question for you. Is the NBA actually giving LeBron some much-needed rest here?
No,
Stick around.
don't do that. Don't do that.
You guys have to say.